You are about to be blown away because I'm going to introduce an individual to you that I've known for a couple of years, but just really began to dive into her business model today. If you want to look at a business model that can make hundreds of thousands, millions, tens of millions, or even millions of dollars, which I know sounds like an exaggeration. That's why I didn't say it loudly, because I hate hype almost as much as you do. You definitely want to tune in, get out your pen and paper, because I'm about to interview one of the most brilliant business people I've had the pleasure of meeting, and that is none other than Mrs. Nicole Caillier. Nicole, welcome to our YouTube channel.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
I'm telling you, when I've known you for a while, and I knew you were killing the game, and I knew you were out there crushing it as an entrepreneur, but I didn't understand your business model until we started talking about it today. And can you just tell us, what do you do, and why should the people listening to us care?
So I train entrepreneurs how to launch, grow, and thrive in the healthcare staffing space.
Healthcare staffing space. Now see, that was the part I didn't get. Healthcare staffing space. And I didn't know what that meant. It sounded really great, but I didn't know what it meant. So what we're gonna do in the course of this conversation is we're gonna uncover and unpack exactly what that means so that you will be as blown away at the end of this interview as I was before we got started. So I'm telling you, some of the stuff you told me, like, well, you know, I took out my calculator, I started doing the math, I'm like, and then I asked you this question, why am I not in this business, right? Okay, so before you tell us what it is, what the staffing business is, first of all, why don't you tell us what the staffing business is and then tell us how you got started in it?
Absolutely. So staffing is simply an employment agency, and our specialty happens to be healthcare staffing.
Okay.
And so we provide supplemental staffing to healthcare organizations, hospitals,
like hospitals,
doctors' offices,
nursing homes?
Absolutely, correctional facilities.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Any facility that would need the supplemental staffing provided by nurses.
And when you say
physicians.
Supplemental staffing, what does that mean?
Supplement their own staff.
Okay.
Like they require additional staff or nursing staff that's not on hand to execute the operations of their business.
So if somebody is off sick, or somebody goes on vacation, or they have an influx like they had during COVID,
yes,
you can supply them with
yes, absolutely,
with medical staff.
Absolutely.
Wow. Okay, that's pretty cool. So how in the world does somebody get into medical staffing agencies? How did that happen?
So personally, I was working as a nurse back in 2005, and I honestly got into the industry by accident. I had just got a promotion.
That was a good accident.
Yeah, it was a great accident. I had just gotten a promotion and a raise, and one of the things that I loved about that opportunity was that it offered a lot of flexibility. And so I wasn't looking to get into entrepreneurship or even start a staffing firm. I was satisfied with where I was and what I had accomplished in my nursing career.
So you were a nurse?
I was a nurse.
LVN, RP, what is it? I forgot the
LVN.
name. LVN, okay.
And so when I went to talk to my supervisor one day about tapping into the flexibility, we had what I thought was a good conversation, and about 30 minutes later, she came into my office and fired me. Fired me. And Myron, she didn't just fire me, she escorted me out of the building.
What? Wait, you had what you thought was a great conversation. Hey, I'd like to have some more flexibility, some more time off, maybe do some stuff with my family.
Right.
Oh yeah, that sounds like a really great idea. 30 minutes later, hasta la vista.
Yes.
That's
absolutely.
Crazy.
Absolutely, and it was one of the selling points of the promotion. So you can imagine I was in awe.
One of the selling points of what promotion?
Of the promotion that I had received by the facility.
Oh, so you received a promotion that promised you more flexibility and more time off. You went to talk to your supervisor about what they promised you, and they fired you.
Yep, you got it.
Gotta love corporate America, ladies and gentlemen. Sheesh.
And so when she came into my office and fired me, it took me a little while to even realize what was happening, because I'm thinking like, girl, you can't fire me. I just got, I'm running it in my head. You just got a promotion, you just got a raise. How am I getting fired? And so
For talking to y'all about what y'all promised me.
Exactly. And so I was being escorted out of the building in front of all of my colleagues that had just saw me get this promotion and this raise. And so I remember as I went through the double doors, I was trying not to cry.
Which double doors?
The double doors of the
building.
building.
That led outside?
Right,
okay.
That led outside. And so I was just trying to make it to my car. And I was thinking, how did this happen? How did it happen?
I'm confused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I got into the car and I just started crying. And at first I was upset with my supervisor, but there came a moment when I got upset with me because I was wondering, Nicole, how did you get in a position where someone else has controlled your time, income, and freedom, and in 30 minutes, they've changed your life?
Wow.
And so I started
I didn't
hearing,
know you was gonna come out swinging, you know what I'm saying?
Myron, I started thinking that day, I was sitting between two healthcare organizations. Like, I had a great reputation, I had the skill set, I could have went in either direction and got a job. But that internal voice started saying, start the business, start the business. And I couldn't shake it. And I had heard that voice before, but this was the first time I was in a position that I really listened.
So when you start the business, what business was the business?
I had no idea.
Oh, okay. So this was just like this random prompting that said, start the business, start the business.
Absolutely.
And so, like me, you were probably thinking, well, what business?
Right.
Okay.
So I started doing some research and decided that I'm going to start an employment agency that caters to nurses. I'm
Okay.
going to help other nurses find jobs, which,
That's so fascinating.
well, honestly, at the time it seemed insane because there was another voice saying, you didn't even keep your own job. So how are you going to?
How you gonna help somebody else get a job and keep
Right.
it? You can't even keep one your own self. Okay.
But I just kept moving forward and I began calling some old colleagues, old facilities, and step by step, I was building the business. So much so, 90 days later, the facility that fired me reached out to me for a contract and ended up being one of our largest clients.
Wow. That must have been some heck of a research.
Yeah.
So you got fired. You said, start the business. Okay. I'm going to help nurses find jobs, find employment. Then you're in the business. And like, I get it. You were a nurse, so you knew how to be a nurse.
Absolutely.
Right? You knew how to go in and give people shots and take their temperature and their, I don't know, you probably didn't take blood. That's a phlebotomist, right? Isn't that what that person's called?
Yes.
Okay, so you probably didn't do that part, but you knew how to read their charts, and you knew how to ask them questions so you could talk to the doctor about them and talk to them about the doctor, blah, blah, blah. You knew all that stuff. So what made you think you'd know how to help somebody else get a job doing that? I mean, just because that's what you did. Because like having a job doing the thing and then running a business where you employ other people to do the thing are not the same thing, or are they?
No, they aren't.
They aren't. Did you just know? I mean, what's up?
Well, I don't think that I necessarily knew, but I knew what I had and I knew what I didn't want anymore. And so I was forced. It was one of those situations in life where it's like I was forced to keep going and moving forward, even in the unknown. And so just continuing to reach out, do research, reach out to colleagues, and just the opportunity that existed. And I had seen nurses coming into our building, right? So they were, our facilities that I worked at were utilizing supplemental staffing.
Okay.
And I was always a little
So
curious.
you were aware of it and slightly curious about it.
Slightly curious, exactly.
Wow. And so, how did you know, so you decided you were going to start this healthcare staffing agency. Did I say it right?
Yes, you did.
Healthcare staffing agency. And so you're going to find people jobs. How did you know how much to charge? How did you know how much to pay? So as a healthcare staffing agency, you're kind of the middle woman between the person looking for the job and the person giving the job, and then you're taking a piece out of the middle. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so how did you know how much to charge so that you would make enough money for it to work for you? Or did you just guess? I mean, where did that come from?
Myron, I just guessed. There's a saying, ignorance is bliss. And that guessing worked for me for in the beginning for probably the first 2 years until it worked until it didn't work anymore. And so there was a point in my entrepreneurial journey where I had to actually go back and do my first work because I had guessed. And so in the beginning, yes, it was a lot of guessing.
Did you make any real money your first year? Did you make more money your first year having your staffing agency than you did being a nurse?
Yes, I made
a little more or a lot more?
Oh, I made 3 to 4 times what I would have made working as a nurse full time all year. And then by the second year, I was able to hire a full staff.
So your first year, you made 3 to 4 times what you made as a nurse. Were you working harder and more hours too?
No, I was working less.
You're telling me, I just want to make sure the folks watching understand this. You're telling me you accidentally stumbled upon starting this business and you're making 3 to 4 times as much money and working less hours.
Yes.
Oh, that sounds like a good business to me. Yeah. And you guessed wrong, and you still were making 3 to 4 times as much money as you were making being a nurse.
Absolutely. I've heard you say this, Myron, before. I believe I was at the point where I was working higher, not harder.
You heard me say that before, for real, for real, for real. And so, and basically what that means is she was working at a higher level of delivering value as a staffing agency than she was as a nurse actually doing the physical labor. So there are probably some other people in some other industries who are nurses, maybe even some people who are doctors. So, because based on what my calculations, and I'm not in the staffing business, but I'm pretty good at math. I can't spell worth a quarter, so don't hold that against me. But I would imagine that owning a staffing agency can be more financially profitable than being a doctor in some specialities. I'm not exaggerating that, am I?
Not at all.
Without having to go to school for 11,000 years. Okay. Wow. I made up that 11,000. That's not a real number. I know that's not a real number. It was for exaggeration, so calm down. Okay. So you started the staffing agency, and then you built a business where you would hire people, nurses, doctors too, or?
Nurses, doctors, nurse practitioners, and some allied health professions as well.
Like phlebotomists, x-ray technicians, blah, 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 whatever.
Yes, medical assistants.
Medical assistants, okay. So you'd hire these people, you would pay them X amount of dollars.
Yes.
Then you'd get them a position and you'd charge at least 2 times that.
Yes.
And then every hour they worked, you got paid.
Yes.
Like, I'm still wondering, why am I not in this business? I found out about it this morning. Why am I not in it yet? It's so mind-blowing. It's like the ultimate leverage. It's certainly one of the most ultimately leveraged business models I've ever seen, where people who feel the need, I've got to have a job, you can provide them with what they need. Yes. People who feel like, hey, I need somebody to come work for me, you can provide them what they need. And they pay you as much as they're paying the person or more that you get the job for. That's like, wait, what? Yeah. It sounds like you found, like, in the marketplace, it sounds like you found one of the biggest, easiest holes to fill in the economic marketplace. That's what it sounds like to me, based on just the stuff we've talked about today.
Yeah, most people don't realize, and I didn't know until I knew.
Right.
But the staffing industry is $1 billion industry, so it is an untapped market, and there is a vast opportunity in, even outside of healthcare, and many other niches in the space as well.
That's mind-blowing. So you got $1 billion industry, you get a little piece of that pie, and you're gonna be all right.
I'll be all right.
That part. Okay, so let me ask you this. What is the best part about owning a healthcare staffing agency? What's the best part about it? Or the best parts, even if there's more than one?
So for me, I would say that the best parts are, as a nurse, I knew that I became a nurse because I wanted to make an impact in the healthcare space. And so owning a healthcare staffing firm gave me an opportunity not only to make an impact, but to make an income doing it. And so it's allowed me to amplify exponentially the impact that I have and the influence in the healthcare staffing industry. And so that has been really rewarding. And the tangible part of that is I've been able to be the wife, the mom, the sister, the friend, and all the things that I want to be outside of the professional space, because now I have the time, income, and freedom to do so.
So it sounds like to me, most people are looking for, I think, and I don't know what y'all think, but I think most people are looking for more money and more free time. And it seems like for most people, you have to sacrifice one on the altar of the other.
Right.
But it sounds like in the medical health staffing business, you can have both.
You can have both, money and meaning.
Money and meaning. You go. I like the way you said that too. So you can have money and meaning. So that's the best part about it. What's the worst part about it?
That's a good question, Myron. I would say I think being so, and this is how I feel personally, because I'm so invested in the healthcare space that I see the vast opportunity and the need. But when you think about that whole and those individuals, like sometimes you realize if staff is not available, then that's going to affect our healthcare system. It affects the care that my parents get, my grandparents get, our loved ones get. And so I think sometimes it can be bittersweet when you think about it, because I just realize how many opportunities or openings are available, which means that there's the facilities, the healthcare organizations they're the ones who suffer, but ultimately it's those who are there for care that suffer.
So it sounds like that hole in the healthcare space, medical staffing arena, is bigger than any handful or a couple hundred organizations can fill.
Absolutely, it is.
That's mind-blowing. So the opportunity is ginormous. It's kind of like, well, why should I write a book? Like, there's thousands of books out there. Okay, but there are people who want to read stuff that hasn't been written yet.
Yes.
Okay.
And there's new healthcare facilities every day being built. And so there's an increased demand, because as new organizations go up, new organizations are built. That creates additional need for staff.
Okay. So you told me what the best part is. You told me what the worst part is. What's the hardest part about having a healthcare staffing agency?
It's a challenging question for me, because I don't consider it to be hard. I mean, I'm a nurse who used to work 16 hours a day, anywhere from 5.
You just made me tired. After you said that, I need to take a nap. 16 hours
right.
in one day.
Absolutely. And so when I think about that and compare it, it's difficult for me to say that there's a hard part. I'm with my children every evening.
I get that.
I'm with my family. And so I can't say that there's a hard part.
Okay, cool. That makes sense. Yeah, it's like people ask me sometimes, Myron, I know you work really hard. The reason you think I work really hard is because you didn't know me when I used to work hard. That's why. And
Right.
you've never done anything. Myron, this is so hard because you've never done anything hard.
Right.
Like 16 hours a day. Whew. Help me, Lord. Okay, so what's the easiest part about healthcare staffing?
I think the easiest part is building relationships with people and being able to really speak to what their needs are, because even individuals that are coming into healthcare staffing firms, they're looking for something. And so there's a great opportunity to network and make connections and friendships, develop relationships. And so I think the easy part is being able to make those connections and kind of help to meet their needs and build the bridge for those individuals who may not want to be full-blown entrepreneurs, but they'll step into a staffing firm because that's their own objective or the next best thing for them.
Gotcha. So now we talked about the business. We talked about how you got started in the business. Let's talk about the thing that people really want to hear about. Is there any money to be made in this industry? I get it, it's $1 billion industry, but like, have you helped people get started in this business that have made any significant money, like out of the gate, or does it take like 3 years to ramp up, 5 years to ramp up, 10 years to ramp up? Like, if I decide I want to get started in the healthcare staffing agency industry, can I make some real money without having to go back to school and get 17 more degrees? Can I make some real money without having to like work my fingers to the bone? Can I make some real money without having to like give away my dog and sell one of my kids.
Absolutely, and it reminds me of when I first started teaching in 2018. I was asked to teach this. I had no idea that I was naive. I thought that everyone just goes out and figures out how to do this because I had been asked by my
I figured it out 3 times yesterday. No, they don't figure it out.
Right. So I had my tax strategist, my CPA, all of these individuals saying, Nicole, you need to teach people this. This is uncommon. And so in 2018, someone reached out to me and she asked if I would teach her, and it was someone I had had a professional relationship with, and I agreed. And so that was the beginning of me actually stepping into the coaching space. And I had the realization that people don't just figure it out. And so our first class, just to give you a little more insight, our first 2 millionaires came out of the first class that I ever taught. But the funny thing was, or the interesting thing rather, was I taught them, we went through this curriculum, it's 6 weeks, we had a great time, and I knew that they were gonna make the impact because I understood the quality of the information that they were receiving. But then I got phone calls almost back to back, one in 11 months, one at 13 months, and they both said, hey, we've crossed the 7-figure mark, right? So as a part of
their first year.
Their first year. Having no business experience before. One made 1.16 million and the other 1.3 million.
Their first year.
Their first year.
Like, that doesn't happen in real estate generally. That doesn't happen in, it doesn't happen in network marketing. It doesn't happen in stock trading. We're talking about over $1 million. $1 million is $83,700 something a month. Okay. So you can make some real money.
Absolutely, if you're willing to do the work, and obviously with the right strategies, tools, and information, and willing to do the work, absolutely.
So let's talk about, why would a healthcare worker want to go through an agency when they could just go straight to the healthcare facility?
I think staffing firms create an opportunity for employees or individuals who are not looking to become entrepreneurs. It still gives them an opportunity to still gain more of their time, have income and freedom. With a staffing firm, typically you're making your own schedule, and staffing firms generally have the ability to offer higher compensation.
So if a medical professional, nurse, doctor, phlebotomist, x-ray technician, medical assistant, whatever, if they go to the hospital, they are going to work the hours the hospital tells them to work, and they're going to get paid what the hospital tells them they're going to get paid. But if they come to a staffing agency like yours, they get to set their own schedule, and they get paid more than they'd get paid if they went directly to the hospital.
Yes.
You said that with so much confidence and no hesitation, though.
I know it works. I know how it works, Myron. I'm not confused.
I know. I'm confused. You know what I'm confused about? Why am I not in this business? Okay. So that's why somebody who is a medical professional would want to go through an agency as opposed to going directly to the medical facility. Why would a facility, okay, you look like you were going to say something. Yeah. I want to get that.
I do want to say that sometimes too, healthcare professionals are using staffing firms to supplement the income that they are making on their full-time job. So it may just be someone that wants to work additional on the weekends or after hours so that they can bring additional income into their
So people who are looking for part-time income but on their own terms,
yes,
they also come to you. Makes so much sense. Okay, got it. So why would the facility, if they can just hire the person directly, pay them half as much as they're paying you? I'm not attempting to be antagonistic. I'm just seeking to make the whole thing make sense, because I'm sure there are people maybe who've said to you, certainly there are people who think it, I promise you there are. It sounds too good to be true. How could it be possible that it has all of this? Right? Okay, so if the healthcare facility could hire the person directly and pay them half as much as they're going to pay you to hire them for them, why would they go through a healthcare facility when they...
Similar to with employees, sometimes healthcare organizations have temporary needs as well. So they may be looking for a 6-week position for someone who's on maternity leave or something to that effect. Also, as they're expanding their healthcare facilities, that creates an increase in demand for staff. And in many instances, the time that it takes to vet and also the resources for them, it becomes more cost effective to almost try before you buy. And they may want to bring personnel on through a staffing firm, work with a staffing firm for a couple of months before bringing them directly into their facility. And so there's
is there something in your contract that keeps the medical facility from basically stealing your employees that you brought to them?
Yes.
Oh, there is.
Yes, so that's called a buyout. So we have a conversion buyout where if someone wants to go and work directly for the facility, they can, but their contract must be bought out.
The healthcare facility has to buy out the contract of the employee, and they have to pay you a lump sum because they're taking away your back end money that you would have made off of them if they had stayed there working through your agency.
Yes.
What? This is the craziest. What?
Yes.
What? See, people don't know. I know a lot. I'm a business coach. I coach a lot of people. Like, this is all new to me, and I'm a relatively informed individual. This is insane. And they have to buy you out when they buy, like, what could a buyout, like, what would let's say I own a hospital and I want to hire one of your nurses that you brought to me, how much would I have to pay you to buy out their contract?
Well, there's a formula that we utilize, and it's based, so there's a lot of variables. It's hard to give a solid number,
Okay.
but that is based on the time that they've already worked, also the remaining time, if it's a contract that they have left, and also the amount of recruiting and things like that that went into
Hiring them.
Absolutely. And so typically we're talking about thousands of dollars.
So you don't mind buyouts?
No.
You rather enjoy them?
No,
Yeah.
not at all. I'll get the invoice ready.
Like, yeah, come
Today.
by. Please
Today.
come by this out. Wow. Does that happen fairly often or not really?
It happens.
Yeah.
It happens.
Wow.
It happens.
It sounds like one of the coolest businesses that I've ever heard of.
It is, and I feel like it is the best kept secret.
Oh, clearly.
Yeah.
I didn't know about it, and I know about a lot of stuff. Wow. Okay. So, so not only do you do healthcare staffing and have your own staffing agency, you've taught other people how to do it. Do you still teach people how to do it? What if somebody wants to learn how to start their own healthcare staffing agency? I hope I'm saying that right. Medical staffing agency.
So we say healthcare staffing firm, but typically
Healthcare staffing firm.
Yes,
Okay.
they're also referred to as medical staffing, nurse employment agencies with the nursing specialty or healthcare specialty. So that's correct. I do still teach, and it's so funny because I thought in 2018 I was only teaching this one class, and somehow
And here we are.
Here we are years later, and we've launched 400 plus firms, many of them being some well-known industry leaders in the staffing space now. And we've just continued because entrepreneurs keep showing up saying, Nicole, teach us how to do what you did for them, right? And what you do, can you teach me? And so here, the one-time gig has continually,
into
absolutely,
a thing.
Absolutely, and we love it.
Wow. So if somebody wants to, say, reach out to you and say, hey, I want you to teach me how to be a staffer, do you do that one-on-one? Do you do that through some kind of masterclass, challenge? How do you do that?
So the first thing that we do, and the way that we work with individuals who want to get into kind of our space, is through a 5-day learning experience, a challenge, and that is the Launch My Staffing Firm Challenge. And so we provide them and get them ready to launch and help to set the proper infrastructure, share more about how this industry works. It's so unique that it doesn't work like even other staffing companies per se. And so over a 5-day period, we teach them the ins and outs of how to set themselves up properly to succeed and build a sustainable business model.
Now, in order for them to come to that 5-day learning experience, is that something they pay for? Is it free? How does that work?
Yes, so our general admission is $97, and that will give them access to the challenge. And we also offer a VIP experience, and that's $297, and it's typically the best option because I get to answer their questions and work more closely with them as they go through the challenge.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool. And if somebody wants to register for that challenge, where do they go?
They would go to www.launchmystaffingfirm.com.
www.launchmystaffingfirm.com. Okay. So if somebody's sitting there right now watching on YouTube and they want to, like, they're thinking about getting started, but they're not quite sure, they're on the fence, what would you say to them?
There's this quote that I love by Booker T. Washington, and it says something to the effect of, don't judge a man by his success, but the obstacles that he's overcome to acquire that success. And so many people see me in spaces like this, or interviews, or doing something else, and what I like to share is the journey. And so for someone listening, I would just like to remind them that in 2005, I was a nurse being escorted out of the building, getting fired. And so, you know, I'm not part of the God or guru movement. I'm simply someone who made a decision and has continued to honor that decision and do the work required for the last almost 2 decades.
Wow, that is what a cool story. Now, not only have you changed your life, but you've changed the lives of who knows how many 400 other people that you helped get started in the staffing industry. Mind-blowing. Guys, there's gonna be a link to her challenge in the description, and I'm sure you can see it right here on the bottom of the screen as well. Like, this seems like one of the, I mean, I coach a lot of entrepreneurs. I've coached e-commerce entrepreneurs, doctors, dentists, lawyers, chiropractors, people in the fitness space, all kinds of entrepreneurs, coaches, authors, speakers, on and on the list goes. Your business model is one of the most fascinating I've ever seen in my life.
Thank you.
And if I were getting started today, knowing what I know now, and I know a lot now because I've attempted to do a lot of things and I've done a lot of things successfully, your path seems to be like one of those paths that, number one, has the least amount of resistance, and number two, it just seems like a very fast path to cash flow and freedom. I
agree.
Okay, well, I don't. What y'all waiting on? What you waiting? No, I'm being a little facetious, but for real, like what you're doing is mind blowing. It's game changing. You give somebody an opportunity to learn how to do something, and within 12 months, if you can make 6 figures within 12 months, and I was telling y'all at lunch today, I was like, look, here's the deal. I'm 62 years of age. I started working when I was 14. The best job I've ever had in my life, working for somebody else, I made $30,000 a year. Like if I had gotten started in staffing, it wouldn't have taken me 14 years to have my first 6-figure year. Like I could have knocked that out of the gate in the beginning. So glad to have interviewed you. So glad to give people the opportunity to find out about how they can go into medical staffing and change their family's life and change their own lives. Wow, Nicole, thank you for a great interview.
Thank you, it's been a pleasure.
Pleasure is mine, wow. All right, guys, get registered for our challenge today. Don't let grass grow under your feet. And we'll look forward to seeing you on the next video. Bye for now.